know, today normally would have been the general election. And so we had some confused residents today. Quite a few ballots were put in, which is always a good thing. Get those in early.
It's good to confuse them to
Yeah, so
ballots in?
that,
Okay.
yes. And if you came in today, make sure you come back. Come back on the 21st or mail in your ballot. So most of the people who came in today wanted to vote in person. So I let them know they could go and early vote. So I'm going to show you some dates just because it will help with those who are confused. And if you didn't know that this normally was election day, you still have 2 weeks to get your ballot in. So it's good for everybody. Should I? Okay. All right, perfect. So like we said, the general election will be November 21st. So on here, the 13th is the last day that you can register online. That doesn't mean it's the last day you can register. You can still register in person during early voting. So that would be the 13th through the 20th. And then you can also register the day of the election. So don't let that stop you. Get in and vote. Also, you can see that there's early voting, and then, of course, the election day is Tuesday. If you're going to mail in your ballot, it's very important that you know it has to be postmarked the day before. So that has to be November 20th if you're sending in your mail-in ballot. So if you're confused or unsure, just come put it in the ballot box. That way, it gets counted. The other thing I wanted to point out is I wanted you to get to know the candidates. So one of the ways that you can get to know the candidates, I get quite a few calls. They want to know where that information is. This is going to show you the different places that you can find that information. Obviously, you can find it on the Spanish Fork website. You can find it on YouTube. There are 3 Meet the Candidate nights for Spanish Fork City, if you'd like to watch those.
2.
There's 3. So there's the 2 that the Chamber did, and then the one that the Rotary Club did. Yeah. So you can access those from our website as well, but get out and get to know the candidates. Also, on our website, we have all of the information you would need, websites for each candidate, their phone numbers, their email. So reach out to them. Reach out to each one and let them know what your concerns are, or just ask them some questions. The next thing I wanted to point out is that last primary, so just last September, we had 111 votes that did not count. And here is the reason why. 20 of them were returned unsigned. That seems like it would be a no-brainer, but obviously some people may be in a hurry, forgot to do that. So I point that out again. Make sure to sign your ballot. You have to sign it for it to be able to count. I don't know if some people thought that the instructions right there say if we want to get a hold of you, we want you to put your information in. The signature is required. So make sure and put that signature on there. And then also we had 50 that were signature discrepancies. That means the signature did not match what the county had. The county uses 5 different types of your signature to do that. So most of the time I'm told from the county these are missionaries or people who are overseas and someone else, a parent usually sends in their ballot. So if you need your missionary to vote, don't vote for them. We can send them a ballot and they're happy to send them a ballot and they can send that in themselves. And then we had 41 that missed the deadline. That's just sad to me, right? They wanted to vote. They had it already and they just missed the deadline. Most of those are that they mailed it in on election day and it didn't get that November 20th postmark. So just some things to count a couple more votes. Just keep track of those things, just to be aware of those. And then I wanted to make everybody aware where they could go and vote. We have an election center or a vote center at the Spanish Fork Senior Center. So if you need that address, you can call us at the city. We'd be happy to give that to you if you don't know where it is. But the address is also here as well. And they have moved the drop box. It is now behind the library. So you can see right here, there's Library Hall, there's Main Street and 100 South. and there's an arrow right there for the drop box. Just be aware that that's also the library drop boxes. It's also the mailbox drop boxes. So make sure you know which box you're putting it in. I do check the other boxes to make sure, and if they do, then we document and we take those ballots and we put them in the ballot box. So we try to do everything we can. The night of the election, I go and check at 8 o'clock and check those ballot boxes, make sure that nothing's in the library drop box, and the post office, if it went in there, there's nothing I can do, but we try to make everybody's vote count if we can.
Was there a couple in there? Was there
Yes,
ballots?
yes. So a couple, not as many as I thought, but there was probably about 4 in the library drop boxes, so.
Get into the one that says vote on the side of it.
Yes, yes. And then a great resource is here at SpanishFork.org. You can see that I've put a rectangle around election information. You will just click on that and it will take you right to the election page. That's where you're going to see all the candidate information. You're also going to see the Meet the Candidates, where you can click right there and you can watch those. And you'll also be directed to the state site where you can see the candidate profiles. And then also, on election day, they will do updates, and we will have an update on SpanishFork.org, and they will also have an update on the Utah County site. So I just wanted to point that out. Just be aware these are preliminary results. We have to wait for all those mail-in votes to come get in and to be counted, and so it takes 2 weeks for that canvas to actually happen. So anything you see until December 4th will be a preliminary number. And then I just wanted to let you know that final results will be December 5th here in City Council meeting. We'll have a canvas. You will sign off on those numbers, and those that have gained the victory will be presented to you. And you will sign off on that. Any questions that you guys have?
I don't think we're meeting that night, are we? Or did we decide to?
The 5th, you told us a couple of weeks ago that you
Yeah.
wanted to.
We
You
are
have
meeting
to
the
anyway.
5th.
Yeah.
So
I
you
would-
have to meet.
I've missed a third of these meetings and I knew that we were meeting.
Oh, boy.
So that's a law, I mean, that's a meeting we have to meet by to canvass. I think the question we asked was, do we want to have the full meeting that night? The mayor and a few of
Yeah.
us will be away. And at least the direction we
You're
got was
Direct.
meet, do the canvas, and then
And
still
that's
have a
all we'll
meeting.
be doing on the 5th?
Still, yeah, and then still have a meeting on the 12th.
Okay.
Tara, you mentioned something that I think is critical for people to understand. With the primary, you could drop your ballot the night of the election, and I think that's because
Because of the holiday.
of the Labor Day holiday that was the Monday before. Typically, the state law says it has to be mailed the Monday.
Postmarked.
Yeah, thank you, postmarked
Yeah.
that Monday before. That is in place again with this election. So if you're gonna mail it, as you said a couple of times, Monday, somebody's gonna say, well, on the primary, I mailed it on Tuesday, and that is true. But that won't be allowed for this general election. And it's typically not allowed with any election.
Right.
It's the day before. So we're back on normal, if you will, for this general election. Postmarked Monday, drop box or vote center on Tuesday.
Yes, and just, if you want to save the taxpayers money, mailing it costs the taxpayers money, just so you know, so drop it in a drop box. It just saves a little bit more for the taxpayers. So in doubt, just go put it in the drop box.
Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, the newsletter, which goes to every resident or home in the city, has a section that talks about the elections, correct?
Yes,
And
yes.
so everybody should have at least gotten some communication from the city about the upcoming elections, which could point them to the city's website where they could get more information like you just showed.
For sure. And we've also put it on our Facebook page, our social media page, and then we've also done some public noticing, which is required by the law. But it's hard to reach the public. There's not a great way. Once they did away with newspapers and people went to all different types of media, it's hard to get everybody in the same place. So we try to reach out on multiple platforms, try to get the word out as best we can. Call if you have any questions or concerns or you are confused. We'd be happy to answer those.
Part of the questions I've got is, why did you change the election date in Spanish Fork? And maybe just reemphasize, we didn't change the election date, it was changed for us, we don't have
Yes,
control over that.
absolutely. So earlier this year, Chris Stewart resigned for his wife's health reasons, and so there was a vacancy. And so that Utah didn't have someone who didn't represent us, they wanted to push that through and make sure that we got somebody elected and we had representation. So in order to do that, the declaration period had already passed, and so they wanted to be able to have declaration for that. And so even though it didn't affect Spanish Fork, the governor did put out a proclamation and change it for the whole state.
We were looking at an alternative of having the vote in December, which would have been even worse, right? Longer election seasons, less turnaround from when they would take office, both on the, well, just on the municipal side. I don't know when the Congressional District 2 will take office. I imagine that'll be sooner, fairly soon after the election, right? But we were looking at a December election date, so we are very grateful that the governor and the legislature worked with cities to compromise and put together the timing that we have.
And just be aware, it does seem like a bad timing in the fact that it is Thanksgiving week. So go ahead and fill out your ballot now, take care of that, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then the last thing I wanted to say was, last primary, we had 24% of the people vote. And I don't know about you, but I don't know if we ever should have people put in office with 24% of the residents. Obviously, that's going to happen, and the people who come out, that's great. If we get 24%, we're happy they came. It just would be great if that number was higher.
Tara, is that 24% of residents or 24% of registered voters?
That is registered voters.
And do we know what percentage of residents are registered voters?
I don't, but I will find out.
Yes.
Oh, it's about 18,000 versus 47 or 8,000.
It's about 18,000 registered voters in Spanish Fork.
You got a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
We like to have kids, so that's why we're 48 or 50,000 people, and they don't get to vote, or else Jagger would vote for whoever give him ice cream.
If you do have a 16 or 17-year-old, they can register to vote now. They won't be able to vote, but it will automatically go in effect when they turn 18. So that's something to think about as well.
Thanks for all your work on this, Tara.
Yeah.
Tara,
You've
thank
been
you.
busy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.